Well, what's up guys, and welcome back to Project Time Garage. This time we're going to get back on this little Shelby GLHS charger and see if we can get the head back on the thing and send it. This is our 87 Shelby GLHS charger. Car's got about 110,000 miles on it. I put about 50 or 75 of those miles on it myself. Haven't had it, but probably 2 months. I haven't even had it 2 months. I guess I've had it a little over a month now. Not long, definitely not long enough to have heard it, but I did. I heard it, took it for a drive, got my foot in it a little bit. It overboosted just way crazy. Blew a head gasket, cylinder number 4. Anyway, today we're putting it back together. Where are we at? We're in my garage. No, where are we with the car? While I've got the head on the bench out there and I've got a nice open engine compartment, I'm going to take this time to do all those little things that should be done when you have one this far apart. Things like heater hoses, the heater control valve, or the heater control valve. It broke to pieces the second I touched it and tried to get hoses off of it. We're going to do that. We're going to put a thermostat in it. We're going to put upper and lower hoses on it. We're going to put everything on it that you should put on one this far apart. Going to check all the electrical connections, see what they're like. They got a bunch of oil and they're pretty well saturated. We're going to make sure that stuff's good. Just kind of go over it, give it a once over. We'll throw some fresh plugs in there. And once we get it back together, we'll take it out to the street, drop our foot in it, ignore that boost gauge, see if we can blow another head gasket. No, we won't. We will take it out to the street and gently drive it and watch the boost gauge and see what it does. So, don't know why it overboosted. I've got the entire head and turbo assembly sitting on the bench over there. Wastegate seems to work fine bench testing it. So, is it a vacuum problem? I don't know. But the vacuum hose that controls the wastegate solenoid is in good shape. In fact, all of those hard, crunchy plastic lines that were on the car originally have already been replaced, not by me, but I guess by the previous owner. But all of them are nice and supple and soft and nice, what I would expect to see. So we have a bit of a mystery on our hands, but I know this, fool me once, this isn't gonna happen to me again. We're gonna be careful. I'm not climbing back under this car when this is done with. Anyway, enough flapping of my lips. Let's get after this thing and see if we can't put it back together. Then we can get to doing the fun stuff to the car, like refinishing the wheels and taking the instrument cluster out and fixing the gauges and resoldering that and fixing the dash lights and the fun stuff, the stuff that I love to tinker with on these things. Anyway, let's do it. All right. First step is to get this starter out of here. Starter's out, alternator's out. Those are both at the starter alternator place getting rebuilt. And what I'm going to do, while I can access all this stuff and while it's easy, I have this heater control valve. The one I had on the car broke pretty handily when I tried to pull it apart. So in order to put that on, I'm going to get rid of these old heater hoses and go ahead and replumb new ones. I also ordered some replacement 1-inch wire loom because this stuff is some of it's kind of brittle and chunky. So we'll replace that while we're replacing stuff. Should be fun. Let's get started. Somebody put this Prestone, I guess, flush point in this thing. I'm not going back with that. We're going to go back straight to the heater valve. This is where you want to be really careful. I definitely don't want to get so violent with this thing that I end up breaking the heater core. It broke loose, but I'm going to stop right there. I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to go ahead and get a utility knife and just cut the things off so I'm not putting so much tension on that heater core. Although it probably needs a heater core, I'm going to pick my battles. All right, so we'll take all this mess over to the table and we'll go ahead and get them trimmed up. Our new ones cut to length, and then we'll come up here and put them in. Let's go do that. All right. We'll do this guy first. And I'm just gonna do my best to get him to the proper length. And I'm going to cut it probably just a little bit long. There's that one. Kind of junky. I think some of these, that one may not be original, but one of them had a Mopar stamp on it. So we'll go to about right here with this one. You see what I did there, don't you? I took my first hose and I cut the proper length and then proceeded to use it to cut my shorter ones. It's amateur hour at this place. We're going to go right about here. Okay. This one, set it aside. All right, so while I've got all these cut and everything's out on the table, I'm going to go ahead and build my heater control valve, or connect the hoses to my heater control valve while it's out here and easy to get to. And that is totally backwards. Bottom one. Very important, tighten them until you crush whatever you're tightening them onto. All right, that should be plenty. This one goes on the bottom here that goes to the radiator. All right, so that's it. All right, so it's built. I'm going to go ahead and leave this top one off. This is the one that runs over and connects to the thermostat housing of the car. And that is a high pressure crimped hose for unknown reasons. So once I get the head back on the car, I'll go ahead and just cut that compression ring off of it and run a piece of 5/8 over to it, and we'll call that good enough. Let's go put this back on the car. Trying to be really ginger with the heater core. Do not want to pop anything. That should be the heater valve reinstalled. Things in their somewhat right places now. And like I said, I've got 1-inch split loom tubing that will replace, or that will go over this. That should be in tomorrow. So I'll cover that in split loom tomorrow. But at least this part of it is good. I've got a new lower radiator hose and a new upper radiator hose on the way. Be here this week. Starter, alternator will be back next week. So we wait. So while I was down here messing with this thing, I decided I would go ahead and stick a thermostat on it. But wouldn't you know it, the new thermostat didn't come with the thermostat housing gasket. It had a gasket on it when I pulled it out, so I assumed they used a gasket. Anyway, just thought I would show this real quick. This is gasket material. Everybody should keep some of this because it's some really cool stuff. You can actually make your own gasket, not by tracing and cutting, but by actually tapping out a gasket. I know a lot of you old timers know everything about this, but I thought I would show it just in case there's people who haven't seen it. This paper is is made so that you can just take a hammer and just lightly tap on it all the way around the edges, and it'll just kind of fall apart, fall away from itself, right? So what I do is I get it started, stick a couple of bolts down in there to hold my gasket stationary, and then I just go around the corners like this right here and just tap, and you don't tap hard, you just barely tap it, and it doesn't take much, and you'll end up with a gasket that's made just for your application. Definitely not a perfect gasket, but I can clean that up a little bit with a pair of scissors. And I can actually see a little bit of an indentation there where I originally was, so there. And of course I broke through right there because, you know, amateur and all. So anyway, that's how you make your own gasket in a pinch. Let's see, at this point we have starter and alternator off of it. Both of those are in Nashville, being rebuilt. Should have those back next week. We have I put the thermostat in, you saw that, having to make the gasket. So that's back in the head. I have the heater control valve hooked up, new heater hoses put in, new clamps. Got a few things on the way that are supposed to be here sometime this week or first part of next week. Things like lower radiator hose, upper radiator hose, all those little bits and bobs that you really should fix while you're here. So we have a lot done to this car in this episode. I'm waiting on a lot of parts. Some things are out getting rebuilt, some things are in transit getting here. I'm kind of out of something to be able to do right now, so this feels like a good place to go ahead and end the video, at least this segment. We got a lot done. We got the heater hoses cleaned up, heater control valve put back in it, thermostat taken care of. We made that gasket. I've inspected the head. I've gone through it. A couple of cracks, yes, but they're common. I'm comfortable enough, I believe, to go ahead and put it back together. So that's what we're going to do in the next episode. And my goal for that episode is make the thing start. At least here at Run. Preferably I'd like to drive it if at all possible. Tires are a little bit sketchy. Now they're beyond sketchy. Tires are flat scary, but we may buzz it up the road anyway. Let's see. Hey, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do. Hit that subscribe button down there. It really helps us out to have subscribers. The notification bell down there will also let you know when we have new content out, which should be, I don't know, every Thursday, every Friday, something like that. I try to put something out toward the end of the week for you guys. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, please leave them below down in the description. I read everything and I respond to everything. So love to hear feedback. Otherwise, I guess that's it. Make sure you tell all your friends, and I'll see you next time.